This stunning woman is Lyric Backus, but what should have been a day of celebration, her 27th birthday, turned into a nightmare. Later that day, Lyric was found dead in her own garage, and tragically, her young son was with her. The official reports say the case is closed, ruled an accident, but the story left the community unsettled. Whispers quickly spread online and in Dallas neighborhoods. Questions about the timing, the circumstances, and the people connected to her life. And then there's the rumor that a prominent Dallas rapper may be tied to this case. Nothing is confirmed, yet you know what they say. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Today, we're diving into the facts, the theories, and the community's speculation. By the end of this video, we want to hear what you think about this shocking and heartbreaking story. People sound way too full of myself. You're right, and I ain't even made it to dessert. The day Lyric and her son Deuce died began like any other. Just after 7:30 in the morning, Lyric dropped 7-year-old Deuce off at school in Segoville, Texas. Neighbors later said they saw them leave together. Nothing appeared out of the ordinary. That afternoon, at around 3:15, a gas station security camera captured the two of them one last time. Lyric was filling up her car while Deuce went inside to buy snacks. They were seen talking and laughing. It looked like a normal stop on a normal day. They arrived back at their home shortly after 4 o'clock. From that moment on, the timeline becomes unclear. Lyric had plans that evening. She was supposed to meet friends at 6 for her birthday dinner, and as you can imagine, she never showed up. Calls went unanswered, messages were left unread. By 8 o'clock, her best friend Jessica began calling repeatedly. This was unusual. Lyric rarely went silent, especially on her birthday, and especially when she had plans. As the night went on, concern turned into fear. At 11:47 that night, Jessica called 911 and asked police to do a welfare check. She told the dispatcher something felt seriously wrong. Police arrived at Lyric's home just before midnight. The lights were on inside. Officers knocked several times, looked through the windows and called out, but then again, there was no response. Eventually, they went inside. And unlike cases where officers immediately recognize a crime scene, this one didn't raise alarms at first. In fact, the house looked completely normal. There were dishes in the sink. Deuce's backpack was near the door. Lyric's phone was charging on the kitchen counter. Her birthday cake was sitting on the table, untouched. But Lyric and Deuce were not inside the house. And just then, the officers heard a low humming sound coming from the attached garage. The garage door was locked from the inside. The sound became clearer as they got closer. It was a car engine. Officers forced the door open. It was there that they found Lyric sitting in the driver's seat of her Honda sedan. Her head was tilted back. Her eyes were closed. In the passenger seat was Deuce, still buckled into his seatbelt. Both were unresponsive. The engine was still running. The garage door was fully closed. The air inside the garage was filled with carbon monoxide, a gas that cannot be seen or smelled, but can become deadly very quickly in an enclosed space. Paramedics arrived within minutes, but there was nothing they could do. The medical examiner later estimated that Lyric and Deuce had likely died sometime between 4 and 6 that evening. Now, carbon monoxide poisoning can happen fast. In a closed garage, dangerous levels can build in as little as 15 to 30 minutes. People often feel dizzy or confused before losing consciousness, sometimes without realizing what is happening. Police investigated the scene. They examined the car for mechanical issues and looked through the house for any signs of forced entry or a struggle. They found none. There was no evidence that anyone else had been there. No signs that Lyric or Deuce had tried to escape or call for help.
Dallas County detectives are investigating the death of a mother and her little boy. Segoville police found Lyric Backus and her 7-year-old son Deuce dead in the garage last week. Home surveillance cameras captured the chaos. Deuce was a first grader in Segoville. Backus was a social media influencer. She had a clothing boutique and tens of thousands of followers. Family believes the pair died from carbon monoxide poisoning. Police are waiting on autopsies before confirming.
Not long after, police released their conclusion. The deaths were ruled accidental, caused by carbon monoxide poisoning. No foul play was suspected, but even with an official explanation, questions remained. What happened in the time between arriving home and their deaths? Lyric's cell phone and Deuce's backpack were already inside the house, and they weren't supposed to go anywhere until 6. So why, in the world, were they in the garage? There was also another detail that quietly stood out. While friends, family, and the community expressed shock and grief, one person did not speak at all. The man believed to be Deuce's father never made a public statement. He did not appear at the funeral. He offered no explanation, no visible reaction. That silence would linger in the background of this case, raising questions that were never directly addressed. But before trying to understand what may have happened in those final hours, it's important to understand who Lyric and Deuce were as people. Not just names in a police report, but a mother and a child with a life, a routine, and a future that suddenly stopped. Lyric Backus wasn't just another person trying to get Instagram famous. She was a legitimate businesswoman who had built something real. Her online boutique, called Lyric's Closet, was pulling in thousands of dollars every month. She had nearly 70,000 followers. Women from all over the country were buying clothes from her. But she didn't start with money or connections. Lyric was a single mother from Texas who had to build everything herself. She started Lyric's Closet from her living room. At first, it was just a side hustle, buying trendy clothes wholesale and reselling them online. But Lyric had something most influencers don't have: authenticity. She modeled the clothes herself. She filmed try-on videos in her bedroom mirror. She gave honest reviews about sizing and quality. And she responded personally to every customer message. By 2024, Lyric's Closet had become her full-time job. She was shipping orders across the country. She was posting multiple times a day on Instagram. She was planning to expand into children's clothing and maybe even open a physical store. But here's what made Lyric different from other influencers. She did all of this while raising her son completely alone. Deuce, that was his nickname, was 7 years old when he died. He was a first grader at a local elementary school. Teachers described him as polite, smart, always smiling. His classmates loved him. He was the kind of kid who made everyone around him happy. Lyric's entire life revolved around him. She scheduled all her business work around his school hours. She never missed picking him up from school. Bedtime stories weren't optional. They were sacred. On weekends, she took him to trampoline parks, movies, shopping trips, and yes, a lot of these moments ended up on her Instagram. But anyone who followed her could see this wasn't staged. This was a mother who genuinely adored her child. Friends would later say that Lyric was fiercely protective of Deuce. She didn't let just anyone into their lives. She kept her personal business private. And there was one topic she absolutely refused to talk about publicly: Deuce's father. Now, because there's very little information about this case online, some internet sleuths have speculated that it could be connected to the child's father. That's why we felt the need to make this video, to look at what people are saying online and separate speculation from fact. Some claim that Lyric never posted videos with a man, but in a few clips we found online, it's possible she shared moments with her baby daddy, or at least with someone she was dating. So why do people keep connecting this tragedy to a famous rapper? To be clear from the very beginning, there has never been any official confirmation of Deuce's paternity. No police report identifies a father. No court documents establish legal parentage. No DNA tests have been released. No individual has been charged or even named by authorities in connection with Lyric or Deuce's deaths. Everything beyond the confirmed facts exists in the realm of community discussion, rumor, and hearsay. Social media users began analyzing old posts and photos. Some compared Deuce's features to those of public figures. Others revisited timelines, business records, and past interactions. Private discussion groups formed, dedicated entirely to understanding what the public did not know. From those conversations, one theory gained more attention than the rest. According to community hearsay, Lyric was allegedly involved with a well-known figure in the Dallas entertainment scene, specifically an alleged rapper with a public image, financial success, and a reputation that depended on discretion. This remains alleged. Again, there is no official documentation proving a relationship, no legal acknowledgement of paternity, no confirmation from any involved party. Still, the theory persisted. People who claimed to know Lyric personally suggested she had reasons to keep the relationship private. Some said the alleged father provided financial support quietly, without public acknowledgement. Others claimed this type of arrangement was not uncommon in entertainment circles, where image management often outweighs transparency. Now, the reason we mention this is because of the speculation online, as some people have tried to connect the dots between Lyric's case and Yella Beezy, a well-known rapper from Dallas, who is currently facing a murder-for-hire trial in an entirely separate case. In March of 2025, a Dallas County grand jury indicted Yella Beezy, whose real name is Marquise Conway, on capital murder charges for allegedly arranging the killing of fellow rapper Mo3 in 2020 by hiring a hitman to shoot him, and his trial is set to begin in February 2026. Because this information about Yella Beezy is widely reported, some internet sleuths have speculated that Lyric may have known something, or that there could be a connection. But this is purely speculation and not based on any official evidence. No police documents, court filings, or credible reporting tie Yella Beezy to Lyric Backus or Deuce's deaths. But as the saying goes, when there's smoke, people start looking for fire. That doesn't mean a fire exists, but it explains why the questions didn't disappear. In fact, several details continue to fuel speculation. First, the funeral. Lyric and Deuce's service was fully paid for, and the family said someone had paid for it. It was not small or inexpensive. Funeral costs can easily reach tens of thousands of dollars, depending on arrangements. The family never publicly disclosed who covered the expenses. This fact alone proves nothing. Families often receive help during times of loss. But the lack of transparency invited curiosity. Second, Lyric's financial situation. Friends described her as comfortable in ways that seemed to extend beyond boutique income alone. While her business was successful, some felt her lifestyle suggested additional financial support. Again, this proves nothing on its own, but it became part of the broader narrative people were trying to understand. Third, changes in online behavior. After the deaths, some individuals connected to the local entertainment industry reportedly went quiet on social media. Accounts that had been active daily suddenly stopped posting. Engagement disappeared. To some, this felt suspicious. To others, it was simply a reaction to tragedy or legal caution. Silence does not equal guilt, but it does draw attention. Fourth, the funeral itself. The chapel was filled with people who loved Lyric and Deuce. Friends, customers, teachers, fellow entrepreneurs, and community members attended. Stories were shared, tears were shed, but no man publicly stood up and said, "That was my son." For many people, this absence mattered more than any rumor. Some can't help but wonder if there's more to the story, especially since it seemed like Lyric and Deuce had already gone inside the house before the tragedy. Deuce's backpack was left by the door. Lyric's cell phone was charging in the kitchen, and investigators believe they died sometime between 4 and 6 in the evening. The timing and small details leave questions lingering in people's minds. Could this have been a planned murder to avoid further financial obligations? Or could it have happened because Lyric was planning to publicly name the alleged famous rapper as Deuce's father? We may never know. In the end, the case is officially closed, and there's no evidence to prove anything beyond the official ruling. Authorities determined that Lyric and Deuce had definitely died from carbon monoxide poisoning. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of struggle, No mechanical issues with the vehicle. The garage was enclosed. The engine was running. Carbon monoxide levels were lethal. And to be clear, carbon monoxide is a silent killer. Hundreds of people die from accidental CO poisoning every year, especially in garages. From an investigative standpoint, the ruling made sense. Still, questions lingered. Why were Lyric and Deuce in the car instead of inside the house? Why didn't Lyric respond to messages or calls when she missed her birthday dinner? Why were investigative details released quickly and then the case closed? These questions do not prove wrongdoing, but they contribute to the discomfort many feel when the story ends without emotional resolution. Some in the community believe the tragedy was exactly what authorities said it was, a terrible, preventable accident. Others believe there are unanswered questions that deserve transparency, even if no crime occurred. Furthermore, the funeral was deeply emotional. Photos of Lyric and Deuce filled the space. Images of birthday parties, school days, and quiet moments between mother and son. Speakers talked about Lyric's determination, her work ethic, and her fierce love for Deuce. Deuce was remembered as a joyful child, curious, kind, and excited about life. He had just started second grade. He loved making his mother laugh. He had his whole future ahead of him. After their deaths, something meaningful did happen. Lyric's story became a catalyst for carbon monoxide awareness in North Texas. Fire departments distributed free detectors, schools held safety seminars, news outlets ran educational segments. Carbon monoxide detectors save lives. Most CO deaths are preventable. If even one family avoided tragedy because of Lyric and Deuce's story, their deaths were not meaningless. What makes this case even more heartbreaking is that it happened on Lyric's birthday. It was a day that should have been full of celebration, with many more birthdays still ahead. And this is not the first time we've seen something like this. We've covered another case where a woman also died on her birthday, but in that case, it was clear that someone killed her, and it was someone close to her. If you found this case as powerful as we did, don't forget to check out our next video. Just click the one right here. See you there.